Your Minecraft builds probably suck, but they're often quite easy to fix. Usually when people think their Minecraft builds suck, it's because they feel stagnant and unalive. When builds don't feel alive, we oftentimes see them as quite ugly and boring, but with a few simple fixes, that's honestly furthest from the truth. You can take your builds from looking dead to looking like they were straight out of Hermitcraft. By the end of this video, you'll understand my entire building process and how I turn my builds from feeling dead to feeling truly alive. Subscribe and join my Discord server. We've already got a thriving community and honestly help out so much. Gradients are one of the easiest ways to take your Minecraft builds from feeling flat and boring to feeling alive and it's like an actual city. Using flat colours makes your buildings feel artificial and makes them feel honestly quite placed in and not like they exist in an actual world. That's important as the point of focus isn't on realism but on the feeling of being alive, and when buildings don't feel alive they feel like they're a part of a toy box, and what we're trying to focus on is making sure that you're interested in your own builds. This means the number one focus is making them feel real and not feel forced. In art, gradients are a transition of different hues. Not only that, but in Minecraft we have to focus on the different textures of the blocks, which can create different stylized looks which can evolve your Minecraft builds. To create a gradient effect in your builds, you need three different features: a base, transitionary, and original style of blocks. The original block is how you'd imagine the build in your head as one solid cylinder. We use this style of block at the top of the build to make sure the effects of weathering are apparent in our gradients. Weathering is important for realism if that's what you're going for. Even in more stylized builds, it can create a unique effect which helps your build to stand out. Base block is used to establish the foundational colours and shapes of a build. This starts the shift into the transitionary blocks, with this step being arguably the most important as it helps you to establish which colour your gradients will use, as you base your block palette off of the original texture and hues of this block. Transitionary blocks are arguably the most simple. You can find out what these blocks are by using an intermediate colour in your colour palette, finding a block most similar to that colour and using it to transition between the different colours of the structure. This in turn is what creates the gradient effect. Decorations are the next clearest step in order to evolve your own Minecraft builds. Decorations add life to your build through fluff, with fluff being something that's not directly tied to the build itself, but presents the world as being more alive than it actually is. You can see this fluff in my own builds through the hot air balloons and the power line adapters. These bits of fluff help tell the audience that this is a world actually being lived in and this isn't a world made by a Minecrafter. A key thing to also understand when you're doing decorations is how you focus on clutter. Clutter is a collection of a small amount of items in a given area, which means that when you've got too many decorations in one section, it can lead to the audience feeling overwhelmed and not wanting to explore that section. Say for example in the west part of my city, with the power line adapters in the sky and the cows on the road, this means the city feels worth to be lived in, more so than a pretty picture. This gives the illusion of life to a place that would otherwise feel alone and boring. On the other side of the city in the east, you can see three different birds flapping about. I've used a technique called buildstone. With their redstone mechanics, these birds flap their wings naturally without control, which means it creates the illusion of life. This natural fluff creates the believability of life in a naturally bustling city. Height and depth, the final part into understanding how to upgrade your Minecraft builds. When your imagination can run wild in a sandbox game, this can lead to false proportions, which means that builds will look unrealistic, and unless you've stylized it perfectly, this can lead to you feeling unhappy with your own builds because they look often like a cartoon and not realistic. There's again nothing wrong with unrealistic builds. If you were to lock yourself into one style of building, you'd be doing yourself a disservice as this sandbox game is so vast and you've got so many different styles of blocks and textures you can use. But the first way to properly upgrade your Minecraft skills is to understand proportions and create a good foundation. Foundational knowledge is key as it allows you to act more creatively going forward. This foundational knowledge allows you to be more self-expressive, as you are able to more easily articulate your own style of building. This is all while understanding what gives real-life buildings their sense of true life and keeps them from feeling like fictional boxes. First impression you get from the townhouses is a grand, rich experience. This height gives them authority but makes them visually interesting to the eye. This can create the impression of a strong inner city circle, maybe made up of rich noble families, with this already being an example of how you can flesh out your own worlds, as visual storytelling is often just as important as the words you can put behind the builds. The height of builds can be split up into the foreground, midground and background, with each of these being just as important as it creates the illusion of depth and life. The foreground being the decorations on the floor, the midground is the decorations on the buildings, and the background is the birds and the power line adapters. This is where we get more into depth. Depth can be best seen on the townhouses in my city. The framework on the buildings gives the illusion of life through its structure. These frames are entirely unnecessary, as the building itself, because it's in a sandbox game, will hold itself up. But the key detail here is how we come to understand how the illusion of life is created. Things in real life are often unnecessary, and I think that's what gives builds more depth than they need, which means that to make your base more believable, it needs more unnecessary fluff. Powerline adapters and the structure of the buildings are clear examples of positive fluff. They don't directly benefit the build, but together they make the realistic impression of life. It's all about upholding the illusion of life more so than its practicality, which typically means fashion over function. If this is your first video, I hope you enjoyed. The masses of support I've received on TikTok and YouTube is already phenomenal. Starting this channel has been a dream of mine ever since I was younger. To know I'm on my way to making that dream a reality is so important to me. Please subscribe so I can make my dream a reality, and if you want to support me further, join my Discord server. Follow me on all my other socials and stay tuned for Twitch streams coming out in the new year. Goodbye!